Am I the a-hole for checking out of parental duties after my wife said I'm not the father? My wife and I have been married for about 4 years. She brought 3 kids from previous relationships into the marriage, while I have none. They moved into my house after the marriage because I live in a better school district. Obviously, we've had our ups and downs, but overall it's been good. Until a couple of weeks ago when I woke up and found a large dent running down the entire passenger side of my car. The dent is about a hand wide, starts at the front fender and runs down all the way to the rear tire. I was furious. I thought someone sideswept my car as it was parked on the street. I checked our doorbell camera to see if it recorded anything and was surprised our 16-year-old daughter sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night and driving off in my car. She later returned hours later stumbling into the house. Outside of those 2 events, the doorbell camera didn't record anything else but a couple of passing cars that didn't come close to mine. I angrily showed my wife the recording and told her our daughter needs to be punished. But she said that she'll talk to her. I argued that talk isn't enough, which led us into an argument. My wife argued that the new family dynamic has been hard on the kids, while I argued that it doesn't excuse the damage done to my car. I wanted her to agree to ground our daughter from social media and make her get a job to pay for the damage. We argued for hours, until she said I don't get a say in any punishment because I'm not her father. That ended the argument, and I walked off. Since then, I've checked out of any parental duties. I've been an adult and still make sure the kids are safe and fed, but I haven't done anything a father would do. They had doctor's appointment last week for their checkups because they play sports in school, and I refused to drive them, causing my wife to have to take off work. They start school next week and I've dropped them off ever since they moved in, but I told my wife she'll have to do it this year. She argued she can't because of her work schedule, but I answered a mother would figure it out. She called me a child and to grow up. I think since I'm not the father, I don't have to take on the responsibilities of one, but obviously she disagrees. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My wife wants me to report it to my insurance as a hit and run. She said that way no one has to pay for it. I argue that I'll have to pay for it in the long run because they'll jack up my rates. I'm not ignoring the kids, and I still talk to them daily. I just don't do or make any parental decisions like I stated above. Also, the other day, our son asked me if he should play basketball or football, and I told him to go ask his mother. My wife wants me to report it to my insurance as a hit and run. She said that way no one has to pay for it. Insurance fraud is a crime. Don't do it. Also, you had better report the theft of your car and the accident to the police. She obviously hit something with it, and there's a good chance a camera somewhere recorded your car, and it can't be traced back to you. Then I think you should separate. Her daughter committed at least 3 serious crimes: auto theft, drunk driving, and hit and run. She has put you at risk of being sued and possibly arrested. You can't live in a home where that behavior isn't dealt with. This accurately describes the can of worms your wife just threw into your lap. Wife is more interested in covering the ass of herself and daughter than doing the right thing. What's the bet that the talk she would have had with her daughter would have been nothing? Not the a-hole. Your wife doesn't get to pick and choose when you get to act like a parental authority. She's also wrong about the hit and run scenario. If you get it repaired, you'll have to pay your deductible, and it will jack up your rates. It's interesting that she thinks the way to deal with her daughter's behavior is to commit insurance fraud. But most importantly, this is a huge significant problem. Her 16-year-old daughter is knocked out at night and came home apparently drunk. I'm an insurance adjuster handling serious injury/fatality claims. I've had to speak to the heartbroken parents of dead teenagers a sickening number of times. I've also had to look at scene photos of dead teenagers far too often. If your wife doesn't address this immediately and strongly, she's putting her daughter's life at risk. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not making my fiancé's breakfast correctly on the first try and then getting upset by her comments after? My 32 male fiancé 31 female was working from home this morning. I asked her if she would like some bacon and egg sandwich. She said yes. She does prefer mayo on both sides of the toast when she has this, but as I prepared it all, I forgot. As soon as I said it in front of her, I remembered and said, "Hold on, I forgot the mayo and I'll go put it on real quick." To which she replied, "Forget it, it's ruined now." I got upset by this comment as it made me feel as if I had somehow ruined breakfast. So I tried to explain that it was an easy remedy and that the sandwich was most definitely not ruined. She told me to just forget it again. So I went back into the kitchen and finished making my sandwich and sat down. She came in and started to talk about how she thought it would be a fried egg, which again just felt like she was complaining about nothing, as I never said I would be making a fried egg, just stated bacon and egg sandwich. When I got upset that she seemed to still just be complaining, she basically told me that I was wrong, that she wasn't complaining and was just making comments, and I was being an a-hole for being upset since she didn't say anything wrong. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I scrambled the eggs in a bowl with some seasoning and a bit of milk. Put it in the bacon grease and waited until it was cooked on the bottom. Flipped the egg like a pancake and cooked the other side. Cut it in half and put it on a toast like a sandwich. Not the a-hole. Here's a great solution though. Never make her anything ever again. Or dump her. That's another good option. She sounds entitled and ungrateful AF. The fact that she tried to walk back and twist what she said is the icing on the cake. I wasn't complaining when I said forget it, it's ruined. I was just making a neutral comment. That's gaslighting and a pretty abhorrent way to treat you. Not to complain, but you completely ruined this sandwich for me. Not criticizing you, just saying. Or my absolute favorite. I'm just stating facts. I'm not complaining. It's just completely ruined is all. Hey, you know her saying it's ruined repeatedly isn't okay. Respect yourself. Maybe she had a bad day, maybe there is context here. But if she's just like that, spitting in the face of your kind gestures, then she's not good enough for you. Not the a-hole king. Yeah, if this isn't a pattern of behavior, I'm curious as to what caused this. It's clearly unrelated to cooking. Not the a-hole. If she's willing to be a jerk over a sandwich, imagine what she's like over other major decisions. Can you just end the engagement but call it an engagement? No reason, just to infuriate her. It's over. Easy. This relationship is going to break fast. Edit 2. I appreciate everyone's thoughts and concerns. I had no idea this would jump up to almost 400 comments in an hour. Please feel free to keep commenting, but I apologize if I no longer reply. I feel like I got the answers I needed and will be having a deeper discussion with my fiancé tonight when she gets off work. Thank you again, everyone. You have all made me feel a lot better and given me the knowledge I believe I need to move forward. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to keep doing chores for my wife? I'm 28 male and have been married to my wife Bella, 28 female, for 5 years. We both met and went to the same college. She pre-law while I was doing animation. She graduated top of our class and went to a T20 law school. While she was in law school, I had a lot of trouble finding a job in my field. Or a job at all, really. I ended up working in a kitchen as a line cook to help support us, in addition to loans she took out while she was going to school so she could just focus on her classes. Bella got a very good job in a different state after she graduated, so I quit my job and haven't gotten another one since. We have no kids, a nice house for the two of us, and are overall living very, very comfortably. She works very long hours, so I take care of most of the household things. Cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, repainting the walls, and doing other work and renovations to the house. In the last 6 months, Bella started referring to me as her house husband around our family and friends. I've mostly been letting it go, but every single time it bothers me. I'm already insecure about not being able to find a good job, and it makes me feel even more inadequate. I finally got to the end of my rope when we were with her mother on Sunday, who still doesn't really approve of me, and they were talking about taking care of the lawn/garden. And she said, "Thank goodness I have a house husband for that, or I'd never find a time," and smiled at me. Then they both laughed. It was humiliating. I didn't say anything at first, but I guess she could tell that I was really upset and asked what was wrong. I told her that she needed to stop emasculating me and making it seem like I didn't contribute anything to the household. We were arguing back and forth, and she told me that she would stop calling me a house husband if I was going to get that upset about it, but that it wasn't an untrue term, and I needed to stop being insecure. Bella refuses to apologize, and I feel like she doesn't fully appreciate my value as her husband. So, I've stopped doing the chores until she apologizes, and she's beyond mad. She's been coming home and cooking dinner, only for herself, and doing the chores I haven't, and then taking off to spend the night at a friend's house. I was talking to my sister about it, and she told me that Bella was wrong, but I was being immature in my response. The thing is, if I give in, she's going to keep thinking what she's been doing is okay. I don't even know anymore. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Darling, you are a house husband. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Or being a housewife. Why do you believe that it is a put down or emasculating? It is an equal contribution to your family and household. It holds value. It permits your wife to work longer hours at her job without trying to also maintain the household. If you're truly unhappy in that role, do something about it. Look for work in your chosen field or look into going back for new qualifications. You're the a-hole for getting upset about a factually correct statement. Nah, as a housewife myself, I'd be so annoyed if my husband said he had a housewife to take care of stuff. If it was, I'm so glad the wife takes care of all of that. It would be fine. But to reduce her spouse to just their position rather than a person is demeaning. I agree with you, though I do think OP abandoning his position as a house husband to manipulate an apology is what makes him the a-hole, not being upset about it. It's an immature way to go about it, especially considering she has committed to not refer to him as a house husband anymore. Tone is important. Thank God I have a house husband or else I'd never find a time to garden. Isn't exactly a compliment when it's followed by laughter. The same exact way that someone being a housewife isn't a big deal, but going, thank God my wife is a housewife, so I get to come home to a nice meal, is kinda condescending. It's like referring to your wife as my housewife instead of my wife. Exactly this. My mom would be extremely proud that her husband relies on her for a hot meal, and she loves being the housewife. Me? I'd feel degraded. Not that there's anything wrong with the label, but we can't always control how we feel about certain things. I'm more career-driven, and I suck at the domestic stuff around the house. But to be honest, my heart isn't in it anyway. I hate cooking and cleaning. So if my husband ever said something along those lines, I would feel like he's taking a stab at me to make me feel bad about myself. OP never aspired to be a house husband. He's just doing what needs to be done. But a label makes him feel like that's his duty and he should be proud, but feels bad because he doesn't. I get it. He never envisioned that for himself, and so any comments made towards it is very sensitive. He sacrificed his dreams to land on that role. He didn't aspire to be a house husband. It hits different. Last story. Am I the a-hole for serving my 30 female sister-in-law, 32 female, dinner on a kid's plate? My husband and I have family dinners at our house every month or so with our family. I have some sets of fine china that I like to switch out between the seasons that I've inherited from my grandmother. When we have our get-togethers, I serve dinners on these plates. My mother-in-law compliments them every time. My sister-in-law, however, has made comments to me that they're not her style. I honestly didn't think twice her comment about it until this past February when one of my plates was put in the sink, broken. Chalked it up to an accident. In April, we had another dinner. This time, sister-in-law was carrying both her and her boyfriend's plates to the sink and accidentally dropped both. Again, no biggie at all. In May, she broke 2 more plates. And in June, she broke a plate and a cup. At this point, I was catching on, so I brought up these concerns to my husband and he brushed it off as accident. I told my mom, and she said she thought my sister-in-law was doing it on purpose and got me a camera to put in my dining room. In July, we had dinner and I had an opportunity arise. My mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and her boyfriend joined us for dinner. While our plates were still on the table, my mother-in-law asked how many plants we're doing, and I said I'd show her. I told my husband to follow us outside so he could show her the plant is growing, leaving sister-in-law alone with her boyfriend. When we came back inside 5 minutes later, her plate was broken. When they left, I pulled up the camera footage. I saw her stand up when we walked out and peek around a corner, and then throw the plate on the ground. I kept this video to myself. That brings me to this past weekend. We had our family dinner and we were joined by my in-laws, sister-in-law and her boyfriend, as well as my parents, siblings, and niece. I served everyone, saving evil sister-in-law for last. I brought her food on a child's plate with a sippy cup and got those kids silverware with the plastic handles. She looked at me confused and said, I think you mixed my plate up with your niece's plate. And I said, no, my niece is responsible enough to eat on a grown-up's plate. If you're going to act like a child in my home, I'm going to treat you like a child in my home. She tried to play coy, but I had my iPad ready and played a video to everyone at a table. She started sobbing, swiped the kid's plate off the table, and stormed out. My in-laws both apologized and offered to pay for replacement plates, but I told them not to worry about it. Despite this, we still had a nice time. When everyone left, my husband told me I was out of line and cruel, but I told him that this has been happening for months, and I've told him it was bothering me multiple times. It's Wednesday. He's still being a little too cold to me, and I also got a text from my sister-in-law's boyfriend asking me if I would apologize to her because I really embarrassed her. I sent him the video again, and he left me on red. My husband just called me to ask if I was taunting her boyfriend because his sister called him crying that I was. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You're amazing. You have nothing to apologize for. Your sister-in-law does have lots of things to apologize for, though. I do feel bad that I embarrassed her. I spoke with her mom today and she and my father-in-law have my back and that I should demand her to pay for the plates. And if she doesn't, they would. But I'm not going to make anyone do that. I got them for my grandma, so they were special to me. Money can't help the sadness of not having them back. That makes me so angry for you. I'm very sorry that she did that to your plates. Hopefully you still have the remaining set to remember her by. I'm glad your in-laws are on your side. Just remember that she embarrassed herself. She's a grown woman. Not the a-hole. Your husband and your sister-in-law's boyfriend are a-holes, though. You inherited those from your grandmother. Sister-in-law has something seriously wrong with her mentally. Who breaks someone else's plates just because they aren't her style? Who cares about someone else's plates? It's a plate, and it's not her house. She's behaving like a child, and she deserves to be treated like one and called out. What a psycho. Does she display any other type of aggressive behaviors to you? She sounds jealous and is throwing a tantrum like a toddler. We were totally fine before this. We've never been like super close, but close enough to grab a coffee and get our nails done together. I've been married into the family now for 6 years, and I love my in-laws. She was mildly passive-aggressive in May when she asked if her boyfriend could live with us while they were having a small issue, but it was my husband that said no. But this would have been during the plate and cup breaking.